Thanks a million. I'm laughing because I didn't realise until today that a keynote listener actually means a listener, a scribbler, and then a talker as well. So Aideen and myself have been doing our best below there to tic-tac so we don't repeat ourselves, but time is tight, so I'll shut up and start, if you know what I mean. Duncan spoke about the massive challenges. I couldn't agree more. My department was accused once upon a time of letting the urgent drive out the important, in the sense that, you know, some major crisis would come along and things that were considered important were then pushed aside. I think it's self-evident, and I don't just mean from today, but it's self-evident if you go anywhere around the world, that this whole issue of climate change and the environmental issues in general are rapidly moving from important to urgent and have already got there. And certainly the department will do its absolute best to realise that, practically speaking. Patter spoke about the need for subversion. I couldn't possibly stand here as a department inspector and support subversion. I'm going to go, as the son of a Latin teacher, I'm going to go for a new word. I can't see it in a dictionary on my phone anyway, but circumversion I'm going to come up with, because rather than the changes coming from below, the changes need to come from all around, not just below. Duncan and I had a conversation there at break, and I just said, I don't know will I say it or not, but I don't want us to expect too much from what schoolgoers can do. As Patsy said a minute ago, I couldn't agree more. They're not the ones driving around in the BMW 3-litre whatevers and so on, you know. We got to remember that the change is a cultural change. It's not just going to happen in a classroom in 28 hours a week and 168 days in the year. Sorry, 167 days in the year. It's just not realistic. So it's a cultural change we need to work with. Elaine and Nico UNESCO have worked with before. I'm delighted to have been involved in your Young Environmentalist Award. I can't touch on everything here, so I'm hoping Aideen will pick up things I've missed. I love the expression from Michael John that culture eats strategy for breakfast all day long. As the poor idiot who's going to be trying to do most of the work on the review of our strategy for education for sustainable development, I'll probably remember that one with pain and angst over the next few months, okay? Derek did a great job in explaining the massive amount of work that's happening in in the primary curriculum. Coming from a post-primary background, I'm hopeful that there's a lot more happening as well there, and will be happening. I mean, the junior cycle reform is one area, senior cycle reform. The last conversation that I actually had with one of your colleagues, Ben Murray, in classical studies was, how could classical studies incorporate ESD? And he's gone off to think about that and work on it, you know. So we're actually pushing the agenda as much as we can, and the NCCA has done great work in that area, you know. Politics and society is definitely trying to drive pedagogical change. It's not just about learning content. There's a lot more than that happening. And I was delighted to hear that the idea from one of the students, the idea that politics and society should be all about discursiveness and debate, was actually suspended when the issue of climate change came up, and it was not up for debate. So I'm happy with that, if you're happy with that, okay? There's no problem there. Another student commented on the fact that the school system is inherently points-focused. You know, the Irish education system is inherently points-focused. Let's not just blame the schools there, okay? There is a serious need for change. There's no question about that. That need has been flagged for years. Has it happened? Not really. Will it happen? I'll leave it with you, okay? I'm nearly there. Kate talking about it's so many things, Kate. I don't know half the background to your school anyway. But I love the resilience idea. We harp an awful lot about the Finns in education, about their performance in PISA and everything else. I don't know the word, but there is a Finnish term for resilience that comes from encounters with the outdoors, and maybe it's a word we need to bring into the Irish education system as well. But the whole area of teacher training outdoors and so on, makes total sense to me, and the links with the architecture as well. Pat, you also mentioned it's about changing perceptions and values. I was talking to the two lads at lunchtime, and I said, look, the thing that sums it up for me is that I know, okay, at 95 kilos in weight, I know that I should not eat too much food because it will make me unhealthy. Does knowing that change my behaviour? It's all about changing attitudes. And that was one of the very important messages that came through in several of the talks today. Somebody mentioned about the SkullNet hub. There's over 170 resources on SkullNet right now under an ESD label. You'll actually find an Education for Sustainable Development hub on Skullnet. Believe it or not, we set it up with money that we got from the 1916 commemoration program, okay, as a legacy project, okay. Just don't tell the rest of the country what we did. No, it was actually part of the program, just like Politics and Society was. I'll shut up, okay? And by the way, the last comment, I mentioned Patsy's statement earlier, the comment about preschool being a major opportunity, I couldn't agree with more. I could not agree with more. Have I any control over that? No, but I could not agree with that more. I think it's where attitudes and values and all the important things begin. And I'm delighted to hear that message coming through here as well. Okay, I'll shut up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.